Hi friends, this is Anju. Hope you're doing great. As Christmas is approaching, I'm going to make a rich fruit cake. It's also called plum cake. This plum cake is made of a variety of dried fruits and nuts. It requires a little bit of planning and preparation because we have to chop all these dried fruits and soak it weeks or months ahead of baking the cake. However, it's never too late. If you don't have time to wait for too long, you may go ahead and bake it the same week. It would still taste great, although soaking for longer takes it to a different level altogether. So what I usually do is that I would chop the dry fruits required months ahead for more than one cake. I would bake one cake the same week and the rest would be baked around Christmas. This is because as I would be using a variety of dried fruits, even if I take a small quantity of each dried fruit, it would easily add up to bake at least 3 cakes. So the dry fruits I'd be using for this plum cake would be apricots, figs, cherries, raisins, sultanas, prunes, cranberries, and dates. You may use all of these or a combination of your favorite dry fruits. The dry fruits are soaked in rum or brandy. This rich plum cake is decadent with lots of dry fruits and nuts, and I'm sure you would want to make it more often than only for Christmas. So why wait? Let's check out the recipe. For making the plum cake, we have to first chop up all our dried fruits into small pieces. I have taken a few pitted apricots. This is how I cut it. I'm cutting it and adding it to a bowl. Now comes the figs. I'm going to chop it again to similar sized pieces and add it into the bowl. I usually prefer giving my dried fruits a quick rinse in water so that it doesn't have any dust or dirt sticking onto it. I then dry it on a paper towel and chop it. Now comes the dates. I'll be removing the seeds and chopping it. I'm adding in the chopped dates into the bowl. Now I am taking the pitted prunes and doing the same. For one cake, I would use a little more than 2 cups of dried fruits chopped. Adding more of darker fruits like prunes and dates would give a darker plum cake. I'm adding in the raisins. This is something you can add without chopping. Add in the sultanas or golden raisins. Let us chop and add in some cranberries. Adding it into the bowl. Now comes the cherries. Chop it into small pieces like this. Now let us add that also into the bowl. So these are the dried fruits that we would be soaking in the rum or the brandy. This is a little more than 2 cups. That's a little more than 2 cups for one cake. Now let's see how we soak it. Into my thick bottomed pan, I'm going to add in 1/4 of a cup of unrefined sugar. Let us allow it to caramelize. Keep the flame on high till the sugar starts to melt. It is melting slowly. It should melt nicely and turn into a nice golden color. Reduce the flame slightly and bring it to a brown color. Make sure it doesn't get burnt. Once the sugar turns into brown color, switch off the flame and carefully add 1/3 of a cup of water. Be careful to avoid splashes as the caramelized sugar would be extremely hot. Now I'm switching on the flame and adding in the dry fruits. Give it a mix and allow it to come to a boil. Let us cook it for around 2 minutes and then we shall switch off the flame. Now add in 1/4 of a cup of brandy or rum. I'm using brandy. Give it a good mix and let the mixture cool completely. Once cooled, transfer it into an airtight container. Close and seal the container and keep it in a clean and dry place. This would stay good easily for more than a year. You may use it for baking plum cakes anytime after a week or 2. For baking the cake, into my grinder jar, I am adding in 1 cup of organic sugar. This is unrefined sugar. If you prefer a darker cake, you may use coconut sugar instead. I'm also adding in 5 to 6 cloves, 1 teaspoon nutmeg powder. I have actually grated the whole nutmeg and added the powder. I'm also adding 1 teaspoon cinnamon powder. You may even use a small piece of cinnamon stick because we're going to powder it anyway. I have powdered it and I'm keeping it aside. Now I'm going to sift 1¼ cup of refined flour along with 1 teaspoon baking powder and ¼ teaspoon baking soda. I'm keeping it aside. You would also need ½ cup of chopped nuts. You may use a combination of nuts of your choice like walnuts, cashew nuts, hazelnuts or almonds. I'm using walnuts and cashew nuts today. I have chopped it and I am keeping it aside. Make sure you have all the ingredients kept ready before starting to blend it in together. I'll also be using the zest and juice of 1 whole orange. So if you are unfamiliar using the zest, this is how you can do it without any additional tools or grater. You can use your knife to peel out the outermost layer of the orange, which is bright orange in color. Just beneath this, there is this white layer. Try to avoid getting the white layer as it tastes bitter. Now you may just finely chop it. I am not using my hand mixer or stand mixer for this cake. I'm just going to use my blender jars to do all the grinding and blending. Make sure all your ingredients are at room temperature before starting. To my blender jar, I am adding in about 50 grams of butter, about ¼ cup of cold pressed sunflower oil. I'm also going to break in 3 eggs. The eggs that I am using are quite small in size. You may use just 2½ if you have large eggs. Now we shall add in the sugar and spices powder which was ground and kept aside. I am also pouring in ¼ cup of freshly squeezed orange juice. You may replace 2 tablespoons of orange juice with date syrup or caramelized sugar for a darker colored cake. I am also adding in ¼ teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now we shall close the blender jar and give it a quick mix. Remember to keep the blending as minimal as possible. Keep in mind that the speed of the blender is much more when compared to that of a stand mixer. So keep it short and sweet. We don't want to heat it all up. Now without any delay, add in the sifted flour which we had kept aside earlier. Close the blender jar and give it a really short mix. Let us transfer it immediately into a mixing bowl. Make sure not to delay this process. Now add in the soaked dried fruits. I'm using a batch I have prepared and kept a few months back. Now let us gently fold in the soaked dry fruits so that it is distributed uniformly across the cake batter. Be gentle, we don't want to break the air bubbles. This cake doesn't rise like our usual cakes, so we have to be gentle, nice and soft. We shall add in the lemon zest. I'm also adding in the chopped nuts which we had kept aside. I'm giving a gentle final mix. Our batter is ready. I had already greased a cake pan and lined it with parchment paper. I'm going to carefully transfer this batter into the cake pan. You may decorate the top of the cake with cashew nuts or dry cherries if you want to. I'm just placing a few cashew nuts. So our batter is ready. It's time to bake our cake. I'm going to bake it at 170 degrees centigrade for about 1 hour and 10 minutes. Let's check if it's baked well. It's baked really well. So our super yummy plum cake is ready. We have to let it cool very well before cutting it. This beautiful cake stand was gifted to me by my dear friends Nimisha and Vivin. I'm just trying to show it off. There are neighbors. Thank you both for this lovely gift. You may serve or have this plum cake in many different ways. You may cut a slice and enjoy it right away. Or for a boozy cake, you can prick holes in the cake like this and then drizzle brandy or rum on the cake. In that case, wrap and seal the cake with parchment paper followed by aluminum foil. Cling wrap it and store it in an airtight container. You can repeat the process of feeding the cake every 2 weeks to keep the cake moist. Another way to present it is to dust some powdered sugar or icing sugar using a sifter like this. So that is all about our delicious plum cake. So guys, as we are in Christmas mood already, why not go dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh? All the ways we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtails ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. I wish you a Merry Christmas. I hope you like this plum cake recipe. If you do, please do try it out and let me know in the comment section. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. So until I see you next time with another recipe, keep smiling, cook, enjoy.